Another American TESOL Presents Free Friday webinars. I'm Shelly Sanchez-Terrell, your hostess, and unfortunately, I'm not on video today, but usually I am. We have these every single Friday. You can come for free. You can get a free certificate, and you can bring anyone. And we also have recordings and provide you the link. So you can come anytime. We talk about different things, sometimes and a lot of times technology, but we also cover other types of very practical and great ways to engage your students. Today we're going to talk about blogging. And blogging is fantastic for a lot of reasons. And one of the reasons is because when we get our students to blog, then they become authors, they become curators, they become producers, and they're in charge of their learning. But the great thing about it too is it's a way for them to reflect on what you have taught them and the subject matter, and to make it very personal and to connect it to their world. We can do it in any subject. And the other fantastic part about blogging, which I think is pretty powerful, is many times our institutions force a lot of teaching to the test. And for me, when I had this particular problem, I didn't want it to impact my teaching in a negative way. So through blogging and journaling, that's how I was able to really help my students get the skills that they needed to pass those tests, because writing tends to be one of those components. But not only that, you can also put readings and you can have them practice in ways that are still very enriching. But of course you want them to do other ideas that are also very creative as well. For language learners, and that's what I teach, it's important because, like Andrew Sullivan says, it's a continuing conversation. And in our class, they don't get enough opportunities for everyone to have a voice. And often our students that are very shy, this is a great way for them to be encouraged to participate. You find a lot of times that the students that don't participate a lot will actually participate quite more and do some pretty amazing things when technology is involved. And they're not really that shy about publishing. They really like showing their work. It's very important, especially now in this new digital society. And we have to understand our students are not like us. They don't have the same perspectives we do. They may not be digital natives, but they were born in a connected world where the majority of people in the world have a mobile device they carry it around, and it's part of their routine, their traditions, and their behavior. They don't know life without it. And for many of us, it would be very difficult to be without our device for an entire day. For our students, it's impossible, and they really don't understand why they would have to do it because they've never had life without it. So they're publishers, and they speak and they communicate, and the language and their routines and everything, they participate online. So we can be a part of that publishing because they're going to publish anyway. Then it's important that we can guide them. We can talk about the literacy. We can talk about things like digital citizenship, and we can get them to reflect and think about what they're publishing and how to make better. And also, we can also teach them how to give better constructive feedback and how to support each other, because that's one of the major problems that our students have. Cyberbullying is a very real problem, and many of our students suffer, and that is a byproduct because we are not teaching our students how to be good citizens in this world that they live in. There's a lot of things you can do with a blog. You can use it with various age groups. And some of the examples I'm going to show you are teachers from all over the world, and some use their blogs with learners as young as 5 years old. And they have such amazing learning that happens. So you can, and then you have adult students as well who would be motivated to write and to think as well. So you can have many benefits depending on your age group and what you teach. One of the benefits is if you use it as an e-portfolio. So if your students begin to publish work, and especially if they're older, university students, if they're adults, and even if they're teenagers, then that's a great way for them to produce an e-portfolio that they can use when they're applying to jobs, when they're applying to, for example, conference. Nowadays, when we join conferences and we're going to present, they always want to see our work, want to see a bios, they want to see a profile, so we can help them with that. It gets them in the habit of reading and writing daily, which they already do. So it really helps them with that. It's constancy, so that's really amazing. They can reflect on content. They can actually do field research because they can take and blog on mobile devices. They can be outside and they can blog about what they observe. Or they can be in a museum and they can take pictures and they can add that to their blog. Or they can be at an event and they can create a video and they can add that immediately to their blog. And it's also evidence of the work they're doing, and you're able to, for example, assess them that way. You can see what kind of problems are with the learning they may have, because you can look at the blog over time and see if they make the same mistakes. So it's up to you. You're going to have a couple of choices. Do you want to make a class blog where you produce the work, and that's what teachers do a lot, which is they have a class blog, and then they constantly have different examples of work, and the students will do posts, but the students don't have their own individual blog. Or you can have where each student has their own blog. It's up to you. Nowadays, it's not so important, I think, that students have their own blog necessarily. That's going to be less and less important because you're going to find that students have their own blogs aside from school. And it's going to be a difficult issue for teachers. One of the reasons why is because the student is not going to want to, in their personal blog, produce content for you. They're not going to want to publish, things that they had to do for school. So I think that's something that we're going to end up seeing. And so maybe a class blog might be something that ends up being more of a tradition. We'll see. The other thing is, one of the places I think is one of the safest and best free tools to blog with and creating, especially for kids and young adults, is that you can use KidBlog. And the great thing about KidBlog, which I really love, is the students don't even have to have email. In fact, you can put a login and you can put a password for every single one of them. And it makes it very easy. They just go to their blog, they enter the login and the password, and then they're there and they can create and do things. We're going to talk about motivation. That's a good question, Peggy, about them wanting to create their own blogs out of school assignments. And actually that's very important because I'll talk about grading and assessment. But first I'm going to show you a few examples. Like this is the one that I was talking about. This is students from Romania, and this is Young Clover's blogspot. What they do is they have a teddy bear, and they send them to all parts of the world, and those countries will send pictures and slideshows of the teddy bear participating in different customs. So from Romania, they learn about other students and customs and traditions in Massachusetts. One of my favorites was when I saw them, the bear in India, and they even made the bear one of the little outfits that the students wear in the class. So they do really cool and exciting things. Another option is edublogs, and a lot of people do that. I mean, it's made, Kidblog and edublogs are made for schools and for students. So they're going to be your safest platforms, definitely. WordPress. Now, a lot of teachers use WordPress if they're teaching adults or um, if they're teaching, for example, high school students or university students, because there's so many options, and a lot of times your students may even have a WordPress blog. A lot of times they'll use Blogger as well. And one of the benefits, and even EduBlogs recently had this, is now you can mail post. You can email post. So you can actually write an email and just send it to an address, and that's your blog post. It'll come up. Sometimes you can even put videos, you can attach pictures, and all of that will be a part of your blog. You won't be able to put where they go or really have that many options with that, but it's an easy, quick, fast way to blog. One of the other benefits is that all of these have a mobile app. All of these are accessible on your Android and iOS devices. So those are definitely great benefits. One of the other benefits that I saw that I think is really great about Blogspot, if you work with Google+, you can tag people on Google+ within your posts. So I think that's actually kind of cool. I think if you're going to use one of those tools, Blogger is probably the easiest one to use. So this is what it looks like when you actually have, I'm going to now put the pointer, with KidBlog, because with KidBlog, you don't even need anything like, you don't really need anything to do this with to create one of those accounts. I hope I didn't get stuck. Sorry, I hope I didn't get stuck. Well, hi everyone. I hope you can hear me. If you can, sorry about that. And we'll continue. Oh, Ray, yay. I had to restart it, so sometimes that happens. I wish I would have gone back in this slide, because this slide would have given you a lot of information to think about. There's different components of a blog, and when we're with our students, it's a good idea for them to know about these. There's so many more that I didn't put here. But one of them is embedding, and the reason why is because that's very motivating for them. And what that means is that you can do something like create a book through Storybird, or you can make a video like an Animoto. And one of the great things is that you can put that in the blog. So that's one of the reasons to also have a blog. Because if you start using these tools with your students, they're going to want to show them somewhere. They're going to want to let people know, and they're going to want to receive comments. And comments is another part. This is where we really teach them digital citizenship, and this is where we really get to teach them how to really support and provide good feedback. We can have them have conversations and talk about and discuss what makes a good comment. Then you have things like analytics. And one of the reasons why analytics is important is because analytics will tell them where in the world people visited them from. And it's also going to tell them that there's so many more people reading their blog than just what people are commenting, because a lot of times our students don't understand that. They think that they don't have anyone reading their blog and they get very depressed about it. But in fact, they really are. And something our students are already learning and doing is they're reblogging. And what that means is that their friends will post something and they like it, like a picture or an animated GIF. And what they do is they will repost it on their own blog. And then there's tagging. Tagging is a way to where you can organize. So if your students, if you have things like homework assignments or vocabulary, let's say it's always vocabulary review, then they can add a tag. They can add that as a tag. And reblogging is like reposting. Except a lot of times when you reblog, you add a little spin to it. Sometimes you don't, but most of the time you do. You'll use that post and then you'll add your own sense. And a lot of times they do that just with animated GIFs and pictures and memes. So how do we motivate our students and make it very challenging? Well, many teachers don't grade a blog. So Peggy, you were asking a question about students and if they'll create their own posts. They actually will. A lot of students will enjoy the blog so much, and they won't even mind that you don't grade it. They'll just do this as extra part of your class. And so it's great for motivating them and giving as homework, which, you know, I don't like the word homework, but if you give it to them as a challenge or a mission, or you say every day, here's a new challenge, here's a new mission for your blog, then a lot of times they're going to do it. And I'm going to show you some examples of students telling you how much they love doing it. So it's one of the best kind of homeworks you can give, because they actually love it and do it. And who's ever heard of that? um, so here's one that I really like, that you can start adding like visual prompts. This is writingprompts.tumblr.com, and it even gives you things aligned to the Common Core. So it's really fantastic. Okay, it's up to you, Peggy. And that's a good question. So Peggy said, do students create their own blog if it's not an assignment? In the past, the teachers I know have still created the blog, like created it through Kid Blogging. They still did it. Um, if students are a bit older, then that might be something to consider. And for me, I think Tumblr is actually one of those, because Tumblr they can submit and they can ask, but Tumblr also has it has questionable comments. So you have to watch out for it. I also like photo prompts Tumblr. This one's really good. It's really funny. It's by John Spencer, who I absolutely adore. And he's always writing some really funny things that students will like. Now, he teaches 6th grade. He teaches 12-year-olds, and he uses this with his 12-year-olds, and they enjoy it. So it's something that is motivating that students actually do respond to. The other idea that I have to engage your students and motivate them to write is give it as a comic. If you can present to them different comics, and these are so easy to embed, you can even, because you can make it into a JPEG or you can make it into an image. And images, when you start working with images, these are some of the best ways to do the writing because it doesn't take that much more knowledge. A lot of times when you embed in some other stuff, you have to know a little bit of code, things don't work right. But when you embed JPEGs and images, they tend to be nice. So you can even do that. You can, and then this is like a story prompt. And notice that you can do different forms too. So in this particular one, in their post, they would actually write a conversation and dialogue. And they have over 350 of these that you can choose from. So in any of these, you have enough for the entire semester. Another great site is oneword.com. So basically, you'll just, if you have a class and they are at the computer, then they can all look at, they can look at like your projector, and you can put the word next. Or you can just take this idea and do it with your class. So we're going to look at the next word, and they get 60 seconds to write about that word. So you can take these ideas, and the great thing about them is that you can use them if you don't have an internet connection. So for example, those make-believe comments, if you were to take that and you were to put it and have a copy of it on your computer and stuff, you wouldn't need the internet for that. So you can still get them to start making posts, and then later on they can go on the computer and they can create the post on the computer. Another thing that you can do, here's another one, is plinky.com. It makes it a little bit more where you evaluate and really have to think about it. This one actually gives you a question. So I think these are a little bit better if you're trying to get them to practice writing, for example, like a test, like an ACT or something, because they have to back it up with arguments. And then after they do it, you can have them go back and you can have them study the format of whatever testing, and then you can teach them about the point system and stuff. And that's what I used to do with my students, because I wasn't trying to I wanted them to write their thoughts and everything, and then go back and pay attention to the form so that they would succeed in the test. If you do use plinky.com, you can add images to it too. Another idea that I got from my trainer in Greece, Marissa Konstantinos, who has a wonderful, incredible blog, is word cloud tool. So you can actually have all these word clouds, and there are great word cloud sites that will give word clouds for Shakespeare. They'll give science ones. I mean, teachers have made them for every subject, and you can just post them up and have students. Usually I'll say, okay, use 10 of these to recreate the story. Use 5 of these to, create a commentary, to create the news that happened associated with this. So there's so many ways you can get them to write with that. Infographics are one of my favorite options. So you can show them an infographic, and a lot of times these infographics have incredible information. So an infographic is really smart. It takes math and in data and statistics, things that are not fun at all and very difficult to understand, and it makes it to where it's visually pleasing in the brain just understands it by looking at it. It's a lot easier to process and study. So you can post, there's tons of them out there that are really cool, like this one about a zombie's life, that'll teach them different things too. And notice, if you were a language teacher, what do you teach? Well, you can teach about numbers, you can teach about routines, you can teach about, I mean, there's so many things that you can talk about, rituals and stuff like that. Yeah, it's a lot easier That's a good point. It is a lot easier to evaluate an infographic than create one. So I think it's a great as a blog post because then they continue to evaluate it. And plus evaluating is one of the skills that they have to know for a lot of the test as well. So I think it's really wonderful to be able for them. Plus it's a great skill anyway for them to be able to evaluate information, and we teach them digital literacy. You can make the infographics, and my recommendation is pictochart.com. That's the one I always use. I love it. I think it's wonderful. Um, you can post an image and have students create different types of writing. So we shouldn't only teach essays, or we shouldn't only teach paragraph writing. We need to mix it up. We need to show our students how to create, for example, a good email, a good blog post. I mean, there's so many different types of writing, a good comment, um, infographic, there's so many things, poetry. So they can create a short poem, a haiku, or even a 6-word, 7-word, 100-word story. Another one is to have them take the pictures and upload it, and then they can have that, or even drawings. I've had my 5- and 6-year-olds, I've scanned their drawings. Actually, I just took a picture of them on my mobile device, and then I added it to the blog. So it didn't take that much, and it was all on my mobile device. So they created the material and things like that, and then we just added it to the blog. They can do collage activities. Collage activities are when you take a bunch of pictures and you put them all together online. And there's a lot of great tools for that, Pictochart, and online you have PicMonkey. Pic Collage and PicMonkey. Pic Collage, yeah, I'll have to put those later. Actually, I have an entire bookmarks for them. But one of the ways that can be very good is that you can describe a sequence of events that way. You can do something like you can take bits and pieces of a memory like this, and you can have them reflect, and others actually go on their blog, and as the comment, they write. So you can do things like where they all each post a collage, and then the assignment is that they have to go to the comments and create a story or something in response, or guess what the memory was, or guess where they were, or guess the animal that they took pictures of. You can place it as a challenge. So a lot of times you put these as challenges versus homework or anything like that. Then that makes it more interesting. So for example, these are examples, fractions. Find an example of a fraction around you and create a word problem inspired by that image. So they could do something like take pictures of pizza or a candy bar they ate or something. Then, of course, having them embed videos, having them embed Animotos, Vokies, you name it. They can put it. You can change the writing environment. So if you do work with mobile devices, then that's fantastic, because then you can go outside and you can have them for 5 or 10 minutes. They can blog out there. You can use music. So if you are taking the time and you go and you're worried about them messing around or anything like that, sometimes music really calms them down and really helps them to concentrate. And it also sets a mood. A lot of teachers will actually get them to write after listening to music. One of my favorite lessons that I participate in is the teacher who would play like movie music, the backgrounds. And what she would do is she would pause it and she would say, okay, create this movie plot line. And then she would say, okay, this is the middle. And then she would play different music, and then she would put other music for the end. So I thought that was really cool. You can have graphic organizers and storyboards as well. Things like Poplet. You can even embed a Poplet. And so they can create a Poplet, and then they can post it on their blog, and then they can talk about what it was, the assignment was. And there's so many things you can do with that. I mean, that's great research. It's a great way to help teach their other peers as well. One of the most important, so we're going to wrap up already, is that we need to make sure that we create a safe environment. So that's the first thing we do. We get students together, we have them talk about what kinds of ways They can provide feedback and evaluation, and they should respect each other, because we want to motivate our students to be creative and open and share. And for them to do that, and feel safe and free to do that, we need to make sure that they that they celebrate each other's work and stuff. Because one negative comment, the first time they're ridiculed or anything like that, they won't want to do it again. And it's going to be very, very difficult to convince them to, because they just got very bad remarks, or they were attacked. That's something very personal you're writing. If you want to get more kids comments and anything, or collaborate with other students and stuff, Comments for Kids by Will Chamberlain is a really fantastic site to do that. You can do it on Twitter, Comments for Kids, and just add the post there. Or you can go to commentsforkids.blogspot.com, and it gives you many, many, many more options in schools that are doing that. The other great one is Quadblogging. So if you're looking for classes to connect with, these are the places to go. If you're looking to get comments and everything like that, and motivate your students to actually write in the blog and have like good conversations, Quadblogging was invented by David Mitchell. And what it is it's 4 classes or even 4 blogs. I take this sometimes with 4 blogs. And what they do is the first week, everybody posts comments on that one blog, and then they switch the second week, the third week, so everybody becomes like a teacher, and the others respond and comment and are the learners. So yeah, it encourages this teaching each other, and really evaluating each other's work and having good quality comments. And now he recently switched to quadblogging.com, and a company or something kind of took the idea, so they made it professional and everything like that, so you can actually join. And it's still free. You just now are matched up with different student classes and stuff around the world. And it's always a good idea, I think, to connect with other classes. It teaches your students a lot about culture and stuff. So I want to go ahead and end with Greta. Greta is in Argentina, and she taught me a lot about blogging. And she worked with 12-year-olds who would blog on Kidblog, and they weren't graded. And these were the comments they made. They said, the blog was awesome. I wrote stories, and Marcos, my uncle, who lives in Spain, read them and left comments. So it's really fantastic that their relatives from around the world could leave comments. People read our blog, read our blog, but we got comments from all over the world, so they were really excited. These are some of my favorite comments. The blog was the best. I blogged all the time when I was happy, sick, bored all the time. Imagine your students being so motivated that when they're sick, they're even doing your work. That's pretty exciting. And even this student here said, I blogged about everything, like my friends, pets, thoughts, even when I was sick and couldn't come to school. So I blogged about my passion, rugby. And it's not just girls, even the boys I blogged about, So we can really make it something that they really enjoy doing. It's important we educate and include parents. That's usually an acceptable use policy. Kidblog and EduBlogs have those for parents, and I believe they have them in different languages as well. These are some of the parent comments. Parents really do enjoy it as well. So one of them here, congratulations for this project. It's very important for our children. We love you. That's what one of the moms said. I mean, imagine if the parents liked you that much, that they were so excited about it that much. So these are some of the things that are a result of having your students blog. And so I think it's really a great idea. And you can find all of these tools by visiting this Pearl Tree. So good luck. Thank you very much. And I hope you have a great time blogging with your students if you consider doing that. So thank you so much. And sorry about the technical difficulty.